Wow, we are back with the Green Live. Welcome. My name is Pedro Pereira. It's a great pleasure to have you again for the second season of this amazing opportunity for us to learn more about sustainability and deep dive on topics of the environment, social, and governance aspects. As usual, I have my guests with me. Welcome, Carlos Diaz, Stamatia, and Adriana.
Welcome, Pedro.
Hello, Pedro.
Hello,
Welcome
Pedro.
everyone to the season 2.
That's amazing. Well, first of all, what we have decided to do in the season 2. Basically, we have lined up topics that will engage you to understand different aspects of sustainability from a top-down perspective, from a bottom-up approach, but also outside in. So what is the external pressure for being sustainable, which drives an inside out. So we have prepared for you an amazing set of content that will help you navigate through action on the most important topic of humankind. And to start with it, we have picked one that is very controversial. We see that now some big events are coming back, and we ask this question: should people travel to big events again, even if there is a sustainable purpose? So I will bring that to the floor and for us to start a discussion. And just to remind everybody, as we speak here, there is a big event that's going to happen in Dubai, which is Expo 2020. This is an amazing opportunity for us to first talk about what's going to happen there and use that as a good platform to talk about traveling, which is a huge source of emissions. So, Carlos, Stamatia, Adriana, what's your point of view on that?
So, hello, Pedro, and welcome everybody again to this second season of our Green Lives. We thought this is a great opportunity for us to rethink how we do things after COVID, and basically Expo 2020 and the great things that are going to be showcased there are also a very good opportunity. If I walk around, at least in Spain, not many people is familiar with what is happening in Expo 2020. So Stamatia is going to walk us through that in a minute. Also, Adriana is going to tell us something special about a particular week that is the Biodiversity and Climate Week inside Expo 2020. And also, Pedro is going to give us a little bit more flavor of what some companies are doing there. But we start by asking ourselves that question, which is it worth traveling? And the first question that we have to ask for ourselves is, why do we travel? For vacation, for example, and most probably the response for each one of us is the same. We travel to improve our well-being because we want the serenity, because we want a different setup, because we want to improve our wisdom or our connection to a particular place. But this has an effect on the climate. We feel immediate gain, but we don't feel the losses. Okay, So let's just analyze what is that effect on climate. The first thing that we have to say is that tourism in general, not only traveling, but tourism in general is responsible for 8% of the greenhouse gas emissions. And when we talk about transportation, that's 16% of total emissions. But more importantly, I think that what we have to reflect on is that from 2013 to 2018 until COVID started, the aviation CO2 emissions grew 32%. So it's a problem that was growing, and it's a problem that has been eased during COVID big time. We see it in our own company, how our own emissions have gone down dramatically because of the reduction of air travel. But now air travel, again, is forecasted to triple by 2045. So it's not that it's big, it is that it's gonna grow much bigger. And just to finalize this, starting to have this conversation amongst all of us. I think many times we want to be there, and we can't really be healed by the here and the now. We don't need to be there many times. We travel because we want to see, but sometimes we overlook what is invisible. And we all have a bucket list of places that we want to do, because we have a to-do list, but we don't work as hard in our to-be list. So my only initial comment to start this conversation is what are you looking for when you're traveling? Freedom is probably not about being there. Freedom is about not having resistance to the here and the now, and probably you don't need to travel to do that. But today we're gonna see and hear different opinions.
Indeed, we will. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. So I was also thinking we had Expo 2000 here in Milan in 2015. And I've been there to that event, and there were millions of people coming from all over the world. So lots of emissions because of the traveling, of all the traveling, and of course most of Italian people were also there seeing the event. Some even went several times, and there were huge lines just to wait and see whatever you would want to see. Therefore, the experience was amazing, of course, because it was also big and impressive and new. But there was also a lot of boring stuff like waiting in the line, waiting for the food, and things like that. So people need to consider also that, of course, with COVID, I hope this will be avoided also for sanitary issues, like you might imagine. But what I think it's really needed from all of us that want to be there for some reason is to understand why we would like to be there. Apart from the experience, which of course would be very impressive and would give us a lot of well-being, like Carlos was saying, is it any contribution that we can make to the climate change and biodiversity topic? Is it any is there anything that we can learn from being there? Because where you go to visit all these pavilions of different countries, each country will have one. They will take different topics, and they will show what they are doing. They will teach you about their culture and so on. So it will be interesting for all of us to learn something from there, to bring something back home, and to understand how we can improve climate change. And especially also thinking about traveling, you should think how you can travel more eco-friendly, let's say. So if you can take the train, for sure you should take the train, for example, because we know that train is basically the most efficient one in terms of emissions. If you can take public transportation, that's also better, even if it's 3 times higher than the railway. Your personal car or even a flight, it's like 5 times worse than train, just to give you an impression of the quantity of emissions. But even if you have to fly by airplane, sometimes you cannot avoid that if you live far away. There are lots of airlines now which are offering carbon offsetting programs. So what you can do is to understand for your flight what's the amount of carbon that specific airline is that specific aircraft is producing, and to try to offset it through different carbon programs that they have. You should also take into consideration, of course, some numbers. So, for example, this is for a short flight. If your plane pumps out 7 tons of CO2 in one flight, if you plant one tree, it will take 320 years to offset that 7 tons of CO2. And I can tell you that 7 tons is for a very short trip. For example, if you fly from London to Dubai, you will probably emit like 117 tons of CO2. So you might want to consider that there are lots of lots of trees that you might want to plant to offset that, or at least partially offset it. So I would personally recommend to consider why you travel, but also if you really want to travel because maybe you have a purpose for doing that travel, you should consider how you can offset it.
Well, speaking of which, I believe the purpose is to multiply the impact you can make, especially for Expo 2020. And I absolutely agree when there are events that, perhaps don't have a purpose anymore, right? We have commercial trades that perhaps are not anymore in need because you can do that pretty much online through platforms that you can handle that online. But what is special about Expo 2020, and I know for a fact because I am here in Dubai and I live this Expo environment for quite a few years, and the preparation is about creating multipliers for several topics. Stamatia probably will share with us how this is structured, but there is a multiplier effect on the positive note that we could actually create a environment in the world that spark change out of Dubai from Expo 2020. So Stamatia, can you share with us what is the structure of the event, how this will work?
Yeah, well, I would like to add some comments also to the discussion that you should travel with purpose, but also it's good to, let's say, combine the business purpose with the personal purposes and leisure purposes, so as to extend, let's say, you're traveling there if it is very important to attend, and leverage, also businesses and personal leisure. So in regards to what is Expo, as we talked a lot, so it is a large international exhibition that aims to showcase the achievements of nations. It usually lasts 3 to 6 months, and it is under the Bureau International de Exposition body. In 215 took place in Milan, in 217 in Kazakhstan, and in 220 in Dubai. But because of COVID, it was moved in 2021, but kept the name due to marketing reasons. The next one will be in 223 in Buenos Aires. The title and the theme, it is connecting minds and creating the future. So it has 3 subgroups: the opportunity, mobility, and sustainability pavilion. And it covers an area of 1,083 acres. So it is already a big area. 191 nations are expected to participate, and according to different researches, 277,000 new jobs are expected to be created, an injection of $4 billion to come into the economy, and also almost 25 to 100 million visitors will be participating. So as we can see, a lot of people, a lot of traveling, and a lot of emissions into the atmosphere. Specifically, if we go to the different pavilions, we have 3, as we mentioned, subgroups. The one is the Opportunity Pavilion with the title Mission Possible. And you might think you are one person amongst 8 million. And you might think that you cannot do any change into the world. But here, the Mission Possible Pavilion aims to help you rethink and also see how you can change the world. So you can hear from 3 mentors and how from small actions they achieved great impact in their communities, how to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals, and also how to make a difference and take actions. In the Mobility Pavilion, which is called ARIF, it's aimed to create connections and build a society where information, ideas, and goods will be exchanged much faster than before. So you can hear there from giants of mobility, and share their experiences, and also how mobility will continue to transform a truly smart city and how it operates. And also you can attend to workshops, and also you can create your own robot so as to feel the experience. And also the third one, the sustainability pavilion, where one can have the possibility to see all the latest technologies that are there, and what are the actions that their countries are taking for sustainability. So you will be inspired to fight climate change, and what are the actions, what are the behaviors that you should change so as to minimize CO2 footprint. Also, it is really interesting to mention that they have used almost 5,000 of solar panels, 18 energy trees, and 113 meters canopy, so as to generate almost 5 gigawatt hours of alternative energy. So this is how the pavilion is built, the sustainability, and this is something that you will be able also to witness. And also you will see the smart use of water and new paths for sustainability. In the sustainability district, there is a possibility that you can explore coral reefs, and also you can live the experiences like walk through a waterfall, or water the desert, enter a rainforest, or even enter a miniature world. So it will be a really, really nice experience for those that will be there and have a reason to be there.
Wow. That's exciting, guys. Honestly, for putting all of this together, you can imagine the amount of work and the thoughtful way that they have placed this event, right? It's not a normal event for sure. It's something that they want to inspire people, like they say, connect minds, and inspire achievement that was never there before. And the single fact that they are pushing nations to showcase what they have at their best, I think is already a contribution that is well required for awareness and more action over the next few decades for us to achieve the sustainable development goals.
And I think this is the right thinking process, and the right, let's say, path that we all should follow when analyzing if we should do something or we shouldn't. Is it worth the effort? Is it worth the emissions? Is it worth our time? And when you know what you're looking for out of an event, what kind of inspiration you can get, what kind of knowledge you can get, then you can take an informed decision. But I think we can no longer assume that long distance traveling is an automatic right for all of us. Okay, it doesn't have to be automatic. It has to be after reflecting on that. And we're gonna, if we go that to Expo, there are some experiences that are difficult to go through in an online format. You have to be there and experience it, and you're gonna learn a lot about geoengineering in terms of biodiversity and climate change. So what is the human race doing to tackle human change? But as always, we always say that half of our effort needs to be in improving technology to tackle climate change, and the other half of our effort needs to go in improving our behavior towards climate change. And that's exactly what we are doing today. We are analyzing our behavior and analyzing the contents. And with that, I think it's the right opportunity that where Pedro can also help us understand what SAP is doing at Expo. I've not been there yet, but I've heard that we have a big house.
Absolutely. I will share everything about that. As a matter of fact, I was there at Expo 2020 visiting the SAP House Dubai, as they call it. It's an amazing building that SAP has got an entire floor where different showcases on how technology, in this case intelligent sustainable technologies, can help companies to reduce their carbon footprint and to run their operations with responsibility. It's amazing to see that all the content that's going to be presented there is curated in order to help companies and business leaders to take action. So if not for the understanding of the new way of doing things, they will go there just to be impressed on how actually their role in the future of society should be organized.
Very
Now,
well, and we can hear the new generations also expressing their opinion at home, can we?
well, this is now 6:30 p.m. in Dubai, so it's the time where our kids come in and tell us, I am here and I need a better future. Absolutely. But now, just going back to a bit of the content, I have the pleasure to be hosting the first big event that SAP will have at SAP House in Expo 2020 Dubai. And I have to tell you, it's going to be during the Climate and Biodiversity Week. We will be celebrating SAP Cares, which stands for Climate Action and Response. And this is an event that has been organized in a way that, first, we have customers, companies to share their best practices, how they are dealing with these obstacles of becoming a responsible business. One of our guests there will be the Chief Sustainability Officer of Majid Al Futtaim. He has amazing stories on how this amazing corporation is doing a business that is actually putting sustainability, the environment, social aspects in front of everything. So it's going to be amazing, a round table where we're going to have that discussion with the keynote on an important topic of accountability and how we can drive compliance in a world on fire. On fire literally sometimes, but also on fire for change. After that, we are putting content in a very TED Talk style. The speakers we are inviting, they are really experts in the field and they are prepared to share things like how you can do sustainability compliance. As simple as that. How you deal with ESG reporting and steering, and as an organization, how you implement technologies that put you ahead of all this tsunami of regulations and standards that will come on your way. But also, we want to deep dive on topics like Scope 3 emission, how you create efficiencies and how you connect your entire supply chain and manage the entire life cycle of your products in order to be sustainable. And then we want to understand how our customers and partners can rise to a sustainable future. It means for you to have the resilience, not only with your supply chain, but also with products and services that are desired by consumers in the market. And it's my pleasure also to have industry breakouts. So basically we have a breakout on FSI, which are the financial industries. They have a lot of incentives to deal with sustainable companies because they have regulation coming on their way in order to have an impact on their investments. On the other side, we have energy transition as one of the breakout sessions where the team will deep dive on natural resources and how to preserve them. And finally, we have an amazing discussion about circular economy, which is very much applicable for retail and our CPG customers. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and I'm sure everybody that joined this session walk away with this, first of all, inspiration that it's possible. There are ways for them to be running their organizations sustainably. But at the same time, they also will have inspiration from their peers because they will have a number of organizations that are on the same boat. So we expect a lot of customers to join. And if you're listening to this, if you are in the UAE, if you're outside of the UAE and you would like to participate, this is going to happen on the 4th of October, and you will be my guest. I would love to have you at SAP House Dubai.
And Pedro, you mentioned that that's going to happen in the Biodiversity and Climate Change Week. So probably to understand that a little bit better, Adriana can help us frame that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. So
Just one thing, Adriana, I want to throw on your way. You spoke about traveling, and one of our participants here is Zach, and he's making some great questions. Thank you, Zach, for participating here. Specifically on aviation, he's mentioning that aviation contributes almost 2.3% of carbon emissions. There are many areas where travel industries can mitigate emissions on the ground. Maybe you can also address the question from Zach for all of us.
yeah, sure. So of course, aviation is not the only problem we have here. Of course, there are lots of traveling also on the ground happening, and we can also mitigate this low-hanging fruit, how he names it in his second comment. So, and also that aviation traveling is not anymore a leisure for many. So probably a lot of people also travel for business reasons. So they really have a purpose for being there. So of course the airline industry is not only about traveling right now. It's also about all the retailing around it, like booking a hotel, having a car to get to your destination, and of course consuming some food on your plane. So there are lots of topics like waste, like water management as well. There are a lot of ground facilities handling all the traveling, and not only tourism in general. How Carlos was saying, it's a lot more to be seen there, that it can be mitigated. And of course what we should address, looking also at the climate and biodiversity in Expo 2020, is that this is not a single approach. I mean, all countries should come together and work together on this. At Expo 2020, of course, each country has a pavilion where it will show what they will do during that week, what they are doing on sustainability, what kind of innovative technologies they are using to address carbon emissions, but also how to fight biodiversity, how to restore natural habitats, and so on. But we should also look at how we can collaborate, because the air, it's common for all of us. We all breathe it and it's moving around. It's not that each of us can decide, this is my portion of air and I will clean this portion of air and it's okay for me. No, we are all sharing the same air we are breathing, and we should consider all that. Something that I'm missing, to be honest, in this is this initiative where all countries should come together somehow and fight this together. This is a message that I would like to transmit. And we have also COP26 coming soon, so lots of governments will sit together to discuss about that. So I think it will be a good occasion also at Expo 2020 to understand how this can be done. So therefore, I talked a little bit also about our week at Climate and Biodiversity in Expo 20. Just to add a little more, there are specific events in the calendar in different pavilions from different countries on how to work on sustainable development, how to invest in green technologies, how to restore ecosystems, workshops around that, learn more about the ocean, learn more about the blue carbon and how coastal ecosystems and oceans are offset and are somehow attracting our carbon and keeping it there. So therefore they are calling it blue carbon because it's sitting in the ecosystems, and they are of course a way to reduce the carbon in our atmosphere as well. But if we destroy these ecosystems, this is something that we cannot leverage anymore. Nevertheless, we still need to consider that this is not enough. Earth just cannot take it all. Simply like that, oceans cannot take it all. So we need also to think of how we can reduce the emissions that we are emitting.
Fantastic. Final considerations, everyone.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. One is about I think the only strategy is for all of us is to fly less than we did pre-COVID. So those expectations of growth to the air travel, those forecasts do not go as high as expected. And when we travel with a purpose. I think that's undeniable. I would like to dig a little bit deeper on the offsetting, because this happens to all of us. We think, let's take an example, Madrid to London, we're talking about 350 kilos of CO2 by plane, okay? And we think, okay, we'll just pay a few bucks to offset it through tree planting. Well, there are three pieces of bad news there. A tree takes 28 kilos of CO2 per year. So if you do it with a tree, then it will take too many years. So you emit that CO2 immediately, but take many, many years to absorb it. So that doesn't work. We don't have those many years. Option number two is, instead of planting one tree and waiting for so many years, I plant 10 times more trees, or 100 times more trees, and I just wait for a year. But unfortunately, bad news here again too. There's not so much land, and so much land with water capacity to plant as many trees as we would need, just to offset the aviation component. And of course, there are many things that aviation and airlines can do to lower what is called the takeoff and landing emissions, and the new fuels, and all those kinds of new engineering activities that are great, and we need more than that. But so far, we didn't find out a way to tackle the whole problem. So the Earth needs our assistance to really think twice when traveling, and make sure that if we are considering something as great as Expo 2020, we go there, but more importantly, we come back with tons of ideas to implement in our company, to implement in our life, and to really make a change.
Also, I would like to add something that it is really encouraging. It is that we see some companies that are using the technology so as to stop traveling or reduce traveling. For example, Michelin, the tire maker, they are using drones so as to show to their customers their plants, and also to train their employees. And according to what I was reading, they have managed to travel only for specific reasons, and have reduced the travel budget to 20 and 30%. And also Shell, I was reading that they are creating a 3D simulations of their plants and their formulas, so as for their engineers to get access from their home. So in this way, they do not travel so often. And also I have seen and some actions from airlines that are taking on a different, let's say, direction. Air France, for example, they have created a so-called business and leisure initiative, where they are doing some quick changes into the business class cabin, so as, if needed, to reduce the space of the business class. So already technology and the knowledge of how harm those travels are doing to the environment are taking into consideration for a lot of companies.
That's great. Yeah, Pedro, we cannot hear you. We can see you. And now it's much better.
Yeah, you can hear me now. So I was just saying, it's so exciting to restart the second season of the Green Live with such an amazing discussion, right? We have lived in very different times, considering, all of us in the business community that do travel a lot. I myself used to be on a plane pretty much every week, and now it's been a long time I don't do it. And now with Expo 2020 and some other engagements coming up, we see again a bit of a trend, and it's good for us to reflect while we can, because in a very short period of time, probably we will be in a frenetic flow of doing things, and we might not have the opportunity to think through the situation again. So I appreciate so much everybody for you putting the thoughts, and I want to finalize talking to you about the call to action of this live streaming today. Should you travel or not? I think for you to make that decision, you need to go back to your values and understand actually what is your purpose, right? So what is it that you want to advocate for? Is it only for generating business for your company, or do you have a bigger legacy to leave? So I would just go back to all of us, and I want you to give your final consideration on should you travel or not. Do you want to give your recommendation, or you want to give a general direction to everybody?
Well, I think we brought many different angles. It's for each one of you to make your final decision. I want to tell you that I will be traveling to Expo 2020. I want to make sure that it's a meaningful experience, that I have enough interaction with the technology and the ideas that I'm going to find there, with the customers that I'm going to meet there, and that my intention is come back from that journey re-energized and packed with new things to move forward.
My turn now. So as I was saying also before, travel with purpose, or find a purpose for your traveling.
Yes, I would say the same. Travel with purpose, and also get the most out of your travel. Get as much as you can.
That is fantastic, everybody, and that's how we conclude this episode. I wish everybody to join us, share this live streaming to as much people as you can, and stay tuned for future episodes. Thank you very much, and I will see you all next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.